Okay, it's Tuesday, February the 22nd, 2022. Right now at 9 o'clock in the morning. We've got a temperature of 49 degrees here in the foothills of Los Angeles. The relative humidity is 83%. The dew point is 44 degrees. And the barometric pressure is up slightly at 29.77 inches. The weather controllers have scheduled rain for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday we had no rain. We had a lot of natural clouds in the skies. Today we have overcast skies. It feels like it should be raining, but it's not. It should have rained over the weekend. As I mentioned in the last video, we had all this weather move right over us, and it didn't deliver one drop of rain, and that was because of the heavy chemtrail aerosol spraying that we all saw here in Central and Southern California. Now today, we're told that beginning at about noontime, we should be seeing some rain in the valley areas. That will probably come from this system here dropping down, and a lot of this moisture right here moving in. Let's go ahead and look at the water vapor map. This little system here is going to drop down and supposedly deliver a little bit of rain for a couple of hours today. As I mentioned in the previous video, in the entire month of February so far, we've only had 0.17 inches. And in January, we had 5/16 or 0.312 in January. So very little rain for the year. And I find it very interesting that the National Weather Service can provide us a long-term weather forecast for beginning in September, 3-4 months ago, 5 months ago, but yet in February we don't have any rain on the 10-day forecast as of the last video, but yet it just shows up on both the AccuWeather started reporting rain for yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the day after I made the previous video. So it's very odd how this all works. They're able to tell us that we're going to have drought conditions in the western U.S. way back in September, but and then suddenly they can turn the spigot on and off in these just with a couple of days advance notice. So that's all not very easily explained. So once again, looking here at the long wave IR map, we see an interesting progression here. We have a West Pacific storm. You can see that here on the surface map right here. This is a 958 millibar weather system moving to the east northeast, way out in the West Pacific. We can see that on the that long wave map here in a sec. But that's actually merging. The frontal system is merging and getting pulled into this system here, which is being pushed north by this perpetually installed high pressure right here. And we do see a cold front dropping down with 3 lows indicated in a couple of troughs. So we'll just have to see what happens. It's iffy. We have 1,016 millibar isobar, which is running right up the coast of California right here. So it's very iffy. We may get a few sprinkles, but it may not be measurable. We'll just have to see what happens. So let's go back and take a look here at the what's happening here. This is that 958 millibar storm, and this is the other one here, and we can see that portion of this frontal system wants to get sucked into that vortex here. Let's take a look at it here. This is all being isolated by a satellite transmitter. We can see the dry air. There's not a whole lot of condensation around that low, but this is being pulled towards that vortex. You can see that happening here. It's all evaporating. Now look at that. This wants to get pulled right into that vortex, but they're isolating it with the satellite transmitter there. Now in the water vapor map here, we can really see some good detail. Let's let it roll here and we can see what happens. So we've got a developing system here, and well, this is the one we're looking at right here. There's an additional load right there that's been squashed and getting wrapped into that vortex. And take a look at that dark area all the way around that low pressure center. Completely isolated. This is what we've been talking about for 5 years, how they do this. This is how they precisely regulate the pressure, the central pressure of not only these low pressure gale force storms, and hurricanes. The key thing is the hurricanes, because they can precisely, using this method, precisely regulate the pressure. Now, a lot of the catastrophic bonds that are being wheeled and dealed on Wall Street, hurricane insurance and all that sort of thing, there's a lot of fine print which stipulates that if the central pressure of these weather systems rises above a certain pressure, say 960 millibar or whatever it may be, then the contract is null and void. So these cities around the country buy these contracts, and if a hurricane hits, and the pressure rises above, say 950 millibar, then they don't get the payout. The city doesn't get paid, and so it's just tough crap. They will not get the payoff, and the damage is done. And this is how the game is played. The casino always wins, and so this is how it's done. Let's watch it again here in the water vapor map. That low should have condensation all the way around and no dark area, which would indicate high pressure. See, they've got this thing completely surrounded with high pressure. And then we have this zone right here, which is separating this frontal system from that storm, from getting wound into this thing. So that's how it's done. It's fairly simple. The electronics and technology to do this cost billions of dollars. It's all part of the black Department of Defense budget. And a lot of times these people will roll in, for example, the WSR88D Doppler radar. That's commonly known, publicly known as a severe weather detection radar, but it's used to chop up and precisely regulate the amount of precipitation any specific areas around the transmitter will receive. And we've seen that numerous times with those pie-shaped cutouts in the areas of where these storms are happening. Now this thing is frozen up here. Let's take another look. And we noticed as we zoom in the Tennessee area, none of the WSR88Ds are functioning. So these severe storms are being allowed to happen. There could be tornadoes happening, but when they want to create a drought, when the weather controllers want to create a drought, they can do that. They can chop up and evaporate all this weather with no problem. But here we see none of that happening. You can zoom way in and see that just there's no impediment whatsoever to these storms. They're just happening, and that's that. Over here on the West Coast, we can't really buy rain, and we're seeing a little bit right here on the Doppler map. A little bit of snow here in the San Bernardino Mountains, Big Bear. Just a smattering of sprinkles other places, nothing measurable probably. Up in the Bakersfield area, we see some rain. Up near Porterville, we're seeing snow and rain. There in the lower Sierra region, High Sierra region. So that's the pretty much the report. I'd like to show everybody the latest COVID statistics for the month. This is as of February. As you can see, after 23 months, none of these deaths, which are calculated in percent, by the way, none of these states, the top 20 states, California's leading. Now, these are organized by cases, and that's really, cases are really kind of irrelevant up until the COVID thing happened. Nobody paid any attention to CDC. Nobody recorded cases. It was only the deaths that mattered. But nonetheless, here we go. We can see that California, as of February of 2022, just clicked over into the 0.2 percentile region for the deaths. So we've had 82,776 deaths. Many of those are motorcycle accidents, car wrecks, people falling downstairs and what have you. They record those as COVID deaths. You know, they died with COVID, not from COVID. That's the main thing that you need to remember when you see these statistics. So up to 75% of these deaths are really not what they're telling you. So it's quite interesting to look at all these percentages. You know, you've got Florida here, which is wide open. The bars are open. The churches are open. The liquor stores have always been open. And they're at 0.31%, which is pretty close to where we see New York is 0.34. And they've got everything locked down, tight as a drum. You can't do much of anything. You can't turn around without having a piece of paper in your pocket to show the authorities. It's just total nonsense. And these statistics prove that. A pandemic, none of these are anywhere near a pandemic. A pandemic could be somewhere between, 7 and 10%, 15% deaths. Those are those are pandemic statistics. Pandemics throughout history have killed a lot more people than this thing here. This is the most overrated so-called pandemic of all time, and they've destroyed tens of thousands of businesses, merchant businesses, haircutting places, nail salons, walk-in businesses, people that are selling carpeting, hardware stores, you name it. A lot of businesses are not coming back because of what they've told us. But this is what you're not hearing on television, okay? The mainstream television has never, ever reported the deaths in percent or the cases in percent. Now, the cases, as I just mentioned all that. We know the situation with the cases. The CDC never discussed cases up until COVID. If you look at their website, they have a 10-year flu statistical page, and it shows you pretty much the same results in terms of the numbers of deaths per year per flu season and all that. So you can look that up yourselves. But certainly these are not anywhere near. It's a full order of magnitude away from being an actual pandemic. So that's just something everybody should be paying attention to. Down here, you see the worst case. We showed New York City down here. The 5 counties: Manhattan, Queens, Kings County, Brooklyn, which is Brooklyn. You got Staten Island, which is Richmond, and so forth. Look at this. This is the worst case in the entire country, and they've got Queens is at 0.5%. You've got Bronx, 0.52%. Those are still not pandemic. Nowhere near it. If you look, just research pandemics throughout history, you'll see that this is one of the smallest ones that's ever been made a fuss over. So, all right. And by the way, the coronavirus has a survival rate of 99.96%. That's all you need to know. Okay, so we'll get back to the maps here, and we'll just leave it right here. Okay, that's it.